Welcome to my next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to follow more amazing content. The story begins on a peaceful autumn day, with golden leaves falling all over the playground of Sunshine Elementary School. George, a middle-aged black man with a face full of wrinkles but gentle eyes, stepped out of his old truck. He came to visit his daughter, Laila. During lunchtime, George was a single father who cared deeply for his daughter. He wanted to make sure that Laila was well taken care of, especially since she was one of the few black students at this school. George walked into the schoolyard, his eyes searching for the little figure of his daughter. Laila was sitting in a corner of the playground, carefully unwrapping a cold sandwich, with a small carton of milk beside her. She looked so lonely, and the silence around Laila made George feel that something was wrong. He approached her, flashing a big smile and calling out her name. "Laila. It's Daddy." George's voice was filled with joy and love. Laila looked up, her eyes lighting up when she saw her father. She quickly stood up and ran to hug George. "Daddy," she exclaimed, feeling safe and comforted in his embrace. George sat down next to his daughter and began asking about her morning at school. While talking, his eyes happened to glance at Laila's lunch tray. It was a meager meal, a dry sandwich, some bruised fruit, and a nearly expired carton of milk. George frowned. He knew that the school lunch was supposed to be more nutritious than this, and it made him feel that something was very wrong. "Laila, is this what you have to eat every day?" George asked, his voice full of concern. Laila nodded slightly, her eyes showing sadness. "Yes, Daddy. The teacher said this is my lunch." George felt anger rising within him. He couldn't accept that his daughter was being treated this way. Laila deserved a proper meal, just like any other child at the school. He decided that he needed to get to the bottom of this. George stood up, took Laila by the hand, and walked straight into the school building. Once inside the teacher's office, George demanded to speak with Laila's teacher. Ms. Martha, Laila's homeroom teacher, appeared with a faint smile on her face. George immediately asked why his daughter's lunch was so inadequate. Ms. Martha, with a cold expression, replied that this was the standard meal for Laila and that there was nothing more to discuss. George could sense the discrimination in her words and attitude. He couldn't accept that his daughter was being treated unfairly because of her skin color. George's anger boiled over, and he decided to call 911 to report this act of discrimination. He wanted everything to be handled transparently and fairly. When the police arrived, the atmosphere grew tense. Other parents began gathering around, curious about what was happening. George explained the situation to the police and asked them to investigate the discrimination against his daughter. The incident quickly spread, attracting the attention of the media and the local community. The subsequent investigation revealed many sad truths about how the school treated black students. Not only Laila, but many other children also suffered from discrimination in meal distribution, and even in teaching and daily care. These stories made George even more determined to fight for justice for his daughter and for all children who were being treated unfairly. George was not just an ordinary father, he became a voice for other parents. He attended school meetings, demanded policy changes, and ensured that every child was treated equally. He and his supporters created a wave of positive change, forcing the school to reconsider how they treated their students and commit to improving the educational environment. Support from the community. George and Laila's story not only caught the attention of the media but also garnered the concern of the local community. A group of parents stood up to support George and decided to form a parents' council to oversee the school's activities. They organized meetings with the school board, demanded transparency in how students were treated, and fought for the rights of all children. One of the most active parents in the group was Angela, the mother of a student in Laila's class. Angela was a strong woman who always fought for justice. She and George drafted a petition, gathered signatures from other parents, and submitted it to the city's Department of Education. The petition demanded that the school provide quality meals and ensure no discrimination based on race or family background. Not only did the parents support George, but some teachers at the school also began to realize the problem. A few teachers, including Ms. Linda, the music teacher, secretly approached George to express their support. They spoke about the pressure they faced from the school board to comply with unreasonable rules. And they too wanted change. Linda shared that she had witnessed many black students being treated unfairly. But she had not had the courage to stand up until George appeared. The media steps in. The matter grew larger when a local journalist, James, decided to write an article about George and Laila's story. The article was published on the front page of the city's biggest newspaper, with the headline, "Father Fights for Daughter's Rights at Sunshine Elementary School." The article detailed the discrimination Laila and other students faced, along with George's tireless fight. After the article was published, the story gained national attention. Major television channels began covering the story, and George was invited to be interviewed on TV shows. He spoke about what his daughter had endured and what he was trying to do to change things. George wasn't just fighting for Laila but for all the other children, those who had no voice in society. The changes begin. Under pressure from the media and the community, the school board had to reconsider its policies. An emergency meeting was held with the participation of the Department of Education, the school board, parents, and community representatives. The school principal, Ms. Susan, finally had to apologize and commit to changes. The school began implementing specific changes. The students' lunches were improved, with nutritious and well-prepared meals. Teachers were also given additional training on diversity and equality in teaching to ensure that all students were treated fairly. The school board also established an independent oversight committee, including parents, to ensure these changes were properly implemented. George didn't stop there. He, along with Angela and other parents, continued to organize workshops on children's rights, attracting many families in the area. They invited education and psychology experts to speak, raising awareness in the community about discrimination in education. George believed that real change required everyone to understand and care about these issues. Laila's pride. Laila, though still young, understood that her father was doing the right thing. She was proud of George and felt his boundless love for her. Laila became stronger, she no longer felt as alone as before. She made new friends, especially other children in similar situations. Her classmates began treating her better, and she felt she truly belonged to the school community. One day, when George came to pick up Laila after school, she ran to hug him and said, "Daddy, I love you so much. You are my hero." George was touched, tears welling up. He knew that what he was doing was not only improving his daughter's life but also leaving a legacy for future generations, a future where every child would be treated equally and with love. The journey continues. George and Laila's journey didn't end there. George continued to participate in community activities, fighting for children's rights and against injustice. He became a symbol of courage and determination. George's story inspired many others, not only in his community but across the country. Laila grew up with a strong and compassionate heart. She always remembered her father's words, "Never stay silent in the face of injustice." And always stand up for those who are weak. Her childhood experiences helped shape Laila into someone who was always willing to help others. Lasting impact. George and Laila's story wasn't just about a meager lunch, it was about courage, determination, and a father's unconditional love for his daughter. It was a journey of change. Not only for Laila but for many other children. Allowing them to grow up in a fair and loving environment. Years later, Laila had grown up and become a social activist. She began working for a non-profit organization that protected children's rights and fought against injustice in education. With her childhood experiences and her father's teachings, Laila worked tirelessly to ensure that every child had the opportunity to learn in a safe and fair environment. George remained Laila's greatest supporter and companion. He watched her grow with immense pride. George knew that what he had gone through wasn't just for his daughter but for a better future for all children. He often joined Laila in speaking engagements, sharing their story to inspire others. Fateful encounters. In her work, Laila had the opportunity to meet many families facing similar difficulties. One of those encounters was with the family of Marcus, a black boy attending a school with circumstances similar to Laila's old school. Marcus was treated unfairly and wasn't given the same support as his classmates. Laila reached out to Marcus's family and shared her story. She persuaded Marcus's parents to stand up for their son's rights. And she was ready to support them in their fight. With Laila's help, Marcus's family gained community support. And eventually, they forced the school to change how they treated Marcus and other black students. Such encounters became the driving force for Laila to continue her work. She realized that her story wasn't just a memory, it was part of a long, meaningful journey. She knew there were still many children who needed help. And she would not stop striving to bring about positive change. Boundless love. George and Laila proved that, even as ordinary people, with love and determination, they could change the world around them. Their story would forever inspire those fighting for justice and equality. Laila didn't just stop at helping children in her city, she expanded her efforts nationwide. She collaborated with international organizations to build educational programs and support poor children in difficult regions. Laila believed that every child, no matter where they were, deserved a fair chance to grow and dream. Though George was getting older, he continued to accompany his daughter. He often visited schools with Laila, talked to parents and teachers, and shared his story as living proof of the power of love and determination. George believed that if everyone had the will and stood up for what was right, they could create significant change. An ending and a new beginning. George and Laila's story never truly ended. It was just the beginning of new stories. New journeys full of hope and determination. Laila continued her path with the belief that every small action could make a difference. She had become a symbol of courage, determination, and boundless love. George, though frail with age, still had eyes that shone brightly whenever he saw his daughter take the stage, inspiring countless others. He knew he had done the right thing. That his love and determination had helped not only his daughter but many other children have a better life. And so, the story of George and Laila, the story of courage, struggle, and love, continued to live on, inspiring countless generations so that every child would have the right to be loved, respected, and treated fairly.